list. It's not that rewatchable for me. It's not that exciting for me like the others are. But I do like that aspect of it. I do like how.
Yeah, they definitely milked like what they could out of Vulture. Like Spider Man's always been my favorite comic book villain. So, and Vulture's kind of like one of his villains that are. It's kind of like weird. It's like this old man with wings, and it's like they did a good job. Michael Keaton's characterization of that was good. They made him kind of cool with it being like alien tech. A lot of other they had a lot of other villains kind of cameoed in there. Scorpion, Shocker, Prowler, like that was all cool. And then um, I kind of applaud Spider Man for sort of also kind of being different in their approach to characterizing Mary Jane and Flash Thompson and like all this other stuff. They kind of made some different choices there, modernized it a bit. So I think those are all great choices. But yeah, I would say Homecoming. I don't know whether I have Homecoming or Far From Home ranked. They're kind of close to the same to me. I probably would say like Far From Home is slightly better, but yeah, this ranking makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the surprising thing to me is not necessarily that it's at 15, but the big difference between it and Far From Home. You're talking about an average of almost, three and a half points per, per ranking. That's huge to me when you're talking about a difference between Far From Home and Homecoming, which I think are pretty evenly based movies. I would have loved to see them both around, that 10 to 12 range. So it's just surprising that Homecoming was this low. But on to 16 at 421 total points, 14.52. Captain America, the First Avenger. I like this movie more than most. Some people have this movie really high. Some people have this movie really low. It's a war movie, right? If you don't like war movies, you're not going to like this movie. But it's very well done. I like it a lot. I think it's rewatchable. Again, if you like those kind of World War II movies, if you don't, then it's not rewatchable. But if you do, then it is very rewatchable to me. And I love Evans, his portrayal of Cap, obviously. And you get the whole storyline with his love interest and Stark and everything else. So overall, like this movie a lot. And 16th, pretty good spot.
I think it's far too low. That's just my opinion. Basically, I guess people know that I'm probably a bit older here, but now I didn't necessarily like it because it was a war movie, or it was or a portrayal of World War II. I loved Johann Schmidt in it. I thought that Hugo Weaving was a perfect portrayal of Red Skull. I loved the interactions between him and Stanley Tucci. I know they didn't interact, but just the characters that they played were really good. Tommy Lee Jones played a really good character in this as well. But Captain America is my favorite superhero in the Marvel universe, so his origin story had something to do with it. But Evans is Captain America. The supporting characters, the storyline, I loved as well. But I do think that Hugo Weaving's portrayal of Johann Schmidt, Red Skull, was one of the better ones in the MCU, and so that's why it was in my top 10. So I think this is far too low for it. It's the most rewatchable of the actual origin stories that we've seen created of the main characters for me.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add. I think it's kind of low as well. I thought it was um, it's just good to kind of go back to the basics. There's so many other, again, sort of like Homecoming, a lot of small, cameos and Easter eggs in it as well. Like, it's
Well, you think about that conversation that he has with Stanley Tucci, right? Where he says to him, like, no matter what happens tomorrow, you must be who you are. Not a super soldier, but a good man, right? And that shaped who he was throughout the entire MCU. So an important scene and an important movie. I agree. I have it higher than 16, and I think it probably should be. So, but anyways, moving on to 17. 17 at 430 total points, an average of 14.83 is Ant-Man. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. I think the comedy in it's really good. Paul Rudd is fantastic. I know he's not what you would picture as a superhero, but I think that's why it works. His quirkiness, I think, is really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and 17 to me is a little bit like a tick low for me, but here I guess it's not terrible.
Yeah, I think in this one, it just happens to be the character itself. Just the character itself is not on any real popularity. Nothing against those who are a fan of comics, but you would never think to put Ant-Man from the comics on the level of the rest of these characters. Think that Luis, and in this movie, I think that Darren Cross is a very underrated villain. He's not anywhere near my top, but I think that he's very well portrayed in this. And I think that Paul Rudd does well to bring Ant-Man in there. But I put it towards, I believe it was in my mid-teens on my rankings. The reason why is just because I think of the character itself. Ant-Man just doesn't carry the same reverence or pizzazz or popularity that these other characters do. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I thought the choice for it to be Scott Lang and not Hank Pym was interesting, especially because they do so many callbacks to like the Hank Pym Ant-Man and the Wasp and Goliath and all that stuff. So like, I thought that was an interesting choice. But yeah, this seems.
All right, so moving on to 18 with 454 total points, an average of 15.66 is Thor, the original Thor. And again, look, it's a decent movie, but like the Shakespearean Thor is just kind of boring, right? I mean, it's fine. There are decent aspects of it, but it's just kind of like meh. And so 18 for me, yeah, it's about right.
Too low, in my opinion. Because, I mean, how can, just in terms of Thor himself and the cast in general, I just don't see any way how it can be ranked lower than Ant-Man. But that's my personal opinion. I mean, you got introduced to Tom Hiddleston as Loki, who I think many would say is the best, once played a villain type character. I think that he could arguably be a top 5 character in the entire MCU in terms of actor with character. Chris Hemsworth is Thor, a little, left to be desired there. But Anthony Hopkins is Odin, Idris Elba is Heimdall, and Natalie Portman is Jane Foster. The cast in this alone was pretty good, and I enjoyed the Thor trilogy more than most, I believe. But it was higher up on me. I think it was 12. The movie itself left a little bit to be desired, but it still flowed well, and so I think that 18 is a bit too low. I was a fan of it. I thought it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I had it. Rewatch value. I think Sean may have mentioned in our chat the Destroyer kind of being a weird like villain to end on, but yeah, no, I think it's still pretty good. It's very campy, but without and it's still a good like one of those movies where like it still kind of taught you a lesson a little bit, which superhero movies used to do a lot more often, and so I appreciated that out of Thor. But no, yeah, that's I think I had it higher than.
All right, so next on the list, 19th, 491 total points. Pretty significant drop here. 491 total points, an average of 16.93 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Look, I like this movie more than a lot of people apparently because I like the Ant-Man character. I love the supporting characters around him. Luis is fantastic. The way I think the comedy in this movie, I think is great. I think they play with a bunch of different things, and you kind of see that come up again in WandaVision, and I think you'll see it kind of in the future as well with Jimmy Woo. But but I just think that this movie overall, I enjoyed it a lot. I think you're supposed to enjoy movies too. Like you're supposed to have fun watching them, and this is a fun movie for me, and so that's why I have it ranked higher than 19. But I can see it's not a great movie, so I can see it being down here too.
But it doesn't carry a lot of significance. I think that it was, it was after Infinity War, if I'm correct. Yeah, no, maybe yes, it was. And so, Ant-Man kind of follows these, superhero, the Avengers follow-ups. And yeah, I agree. I think that it comes down to how much fun you have watching it. It's not just great for me. And in general, there's no significant, hey, there's this overarching story, plot twist or, reveal that we were hoping to see. We don't find out of the significance of Ant-Man and the Wasp until really Endgame. So that's why I don't think it carries a lot of weight. It does not, there's not a lot to it unless you just find it fun. So I think this is
Sean hit it right on the head. I think I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp like a couple days before Endgame hit theaters to make sure I was all caught up with everything. But like, it's frustrating because it has the potential to be a really good movie. I think it deserves to be higher on this list because I had a lot more fun watching it. But it's just too many moving parts. Like I enjoyed it, but I see for somebody else, you got the storyline again, the callbacks to Goliath, and the old Ant-Man and Wasp. Then you got Ghost, who kind of comes out of nowhere, and the Yellow Jacket. There's some build up to that, but it's just like maybe if you take out one of the storylines and you just focused on a couple things, it's more enjoyable. But there's just too many moving parts in Ant-Man, and then like Sean said, you don't really realize how important it is until you watch Endgame, and even there's the frustrating part about the connection to Endgame, but we can talk about it another time. But yeah, just too much going on in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I understand why people don't love it, but
I can see it. I can see that. So, all right, number 20, 517 total points, 17.83 as an average. Iron Man 3. And this movie is just an absolute mess. Look, Killian's fine. He's pretty good. He does a decent job. But messing with the cat. I can't even discuss the whole, I keep wanting to call him the Mandalorian, but I can't even discuss, it just frustrates me. Like the fact that he's there, but he's not, like Sir Ben Kingsley plays him, but then he's not real. He's just an actor. Like it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And so this one to me is way down the list. I think it's where it belongs in my.
Yeah, agree. There's not much to say about this one. The plot twist with Ben Kingsley was quite well, but just a messy plot. It was predictable. Not too convincing. Just I know they tried to bring out the human element in Tony and that he had a heart, so on and so forth, and all this one. But it's almost like it could have just been an an added storyline to another movie. There wasn't much there for me on this one, so I agree.
I think the funny thing about Iron Man 3 is that he's telling the story to Bruce Banner, and then at the end of the movie, Bruce Banner is like asleep, and he has to wake him up. So that perfectly describes Iron Man 3. Like I feel like by the end of it, you wouldn't be upset if somebody would dozed off in the theater right while they were watching it. So the fact that they even put that scene in there, I think maybe they knew it was bad. I don't know why they would purposely put out a bad movie, but the irony in Bruce Banner waking up from a nap at the end of the movie is perfectly describes Iron Man.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to 21. This one, 530 total points, 18.28. And this one is Iron Man 2, which somehow is worse than Iron Man 3. And again, it's just the Mickey Rourke's character, I think, is stupid. I love Sam Rockwell, but, the Hammer character angle I thought was kind of silly. Again, it's a mirror villain. They love doing the mirror villains. And Mickey Rourke was just a mess. He's just a mess in this movie. I don't know. Whatever. It's just one of those movies where it's it's not great. And again, it's kind of crazy that you see some of these movies that come out and you're like, the MCU started out a little rough and they got it going, but they started out a little rough here after the first Iron Man, and they just kind of kept pushing and they found their way eventually, thank God. But not great. This one's not great.
Yeah, the movie plot itself wasn't that good. The flow of it wasn't that good, so on and so forth. I liked Whiplash. I liked, just the type of character that he was, and I love Mickey Rourke, and I thought he was a fun villain. But that was probably the best part of it. Even then, again, he's borderline top 5 villain for me. So, this movie wasn't good. I think that it's better than Iron Man 3. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the plot line and the twists and all that different stuff. There was some good acting times in it, but the storyline, the plot, and all that had a lot to be desired. And at the end of the day, if Mickey Rourke as the villain was the best thing about it, it's probably not saying much. But I probably had.
Yeah, it's much better than Iron Man 3 to me. Way better, more rewatch value. I believe. I liked Whiplash as well. Like Sean said, I thought I didn't so much love the characterization. I felt like if he was maybe the mastermind behind everything, and not Justin Hammer, I thought that was kind of a waste of space. But I thought Whiplash as a villain was pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of about it.